One would ask, why would an April Mason be single when she has all of this information? Don't you believe the pinnacle of the game would be seeing the person who knows all represent a relationship that she's coached people through?
The Kevin Samuel said that. And I told him, I said, Kevin, I'm no different than you. And so I'm like, so I was married and I had kids. So I've given my contribution to society already. But I wasn't pressed to be in a relationship. And there's never been a lack of options. But actually, I will say, I'm glad I didn't. But what's the difference?
Yeah.
He's like, you're a modern woman. I'm like,
how do men get the bad rap of not necessarily understanding what's going on when y'all don't know what's going on?
Good
and
question.
you're absolutely correct.
So April, you know what men need, you know what men want. You have coached men and women throughout the years.
Yeah.
One would ask, why would an April Mason be single when she has all of this information? Don't you believe the pinnacle of the game would be seeing the person who knows all represent a relationship that she's coached people through?
Great question.
I totally agree. However, I have been married. I have had kids. Because, the Kevin Samuel said that. And I told him, I said, Kevin, I'm no different than you. I just only been married once.
How many was Kevin married?
I believe he was married twice.
Yeah, I think he was too.
And he had his kids.
Shout out to the good noobs.
And so I'm like, so I was married and I had kids. So I've given my contribution to society already.
Hold on. Kevin did something that most people will never do. First of all, when you talk about a man who's been a divorcee twice and falling from that, then rising to success and helping so many men and women out, that's completely different, because a female's experience on divorce compared to a man it's going to be an unbalanced scale on that situation, because most of the time the woman can still get all the assets and resources that she still had while being married after the marriage, opposed to a guy who has to lose all his assets. It is not the same thing.
But what's the difference?
Yeah.
He's like, you're a modern woman. I'm like, but I've done the things that I did them early in my 20s. And here's the thing for me. I wasn't pressed to be in a relationship. What people don't know, a lot of them don't know, is I had my first child at 18, 5 days before I turned 19. So I became an empty nester in my 40s. My very, very first apartment was with a child, and I got married. I've done those things. And so because I put it like this, a lot of us buy houses from realtors and the realtors don't own homes. Does that mean that they don't know what they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It does not. So for me, I was not pressed to be in a relationship just because I understand human connection. Mm-hmm. I've been studying human connection since I was in the 10th grade.
Okay, so we got us another Kendra G, Cheyenne Bryant. I would say Sarah Fontenot, but she's engaged. But it's crazy to say that, I'm not in a relationship, so I'm still qualified to give all this marriage advice. Yes, you can understand people, but if you are not in the experience of marriage consistently on a day-to-day and being able to show people as an example on how you still handle those situations day-to-day, everything's gonna be kind of skewed because you don't live that lifestyle.
So being fascinated with how people connect, if anybody actually pick up a book to really dive into it, they can know what I know. Mm-hmm. I just been given a different level of, I believe, understanding and how to make it come together. But I wasn't pressed to be in a relationship, and there's never been a lack of options. But actually, I will say, I'm glad I didn't.
Why are you so glad that you didn't?
Because I became an empty nester in my 40s. There's some things I wanted to do as a single woman for my legacy, which was buy a house cash, which I did that a couple years ago. Being married to someone, buying a house cash for your children and grandchildren, that ain't gonna fly too well. There might be some that may, but
how not? You said being married, buying a house for your children or whatnot, or your grandchildren. How is that different? You doing it when you're single opposed to being married? Is it ego or whatnot? What's really the problem with that? And the sad part is that most of these female creators or whatnot, or dating coaches, they always have to go to their own success, which is narcissistic. It's always about something material on why they're doing it, opposed to it being about duty, responsibility, and furthermore, generational wealth. Houses is cool for sure, but let's talk about the message that you send to your next generations, the women and the men, because that matters a lot as well. Sometimes people have to see examples, and if you're not an example of the archetype of what that person is supposed to get with, how is your advice gonna be conducive still on a day-to-day?
For me at the time, I'm like, no, my grandmother made the mistake and sold all of the land and the property that my grandfather left. So we didn't have a house like grandma's house. Well, I bought a house. That's the house that I bought in Ohio. And that's the house.
Yeah.
So now, like for instance, us not having a family house, one of my family members recently had a situation and he didn't have a place to be. I pay cash for the house. You don't have to worry about nothing. Go there, get your life together. I got this big old house. I'm hardly ever there. So that was something that I needed to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
After that, I did it. I said, okay, I did this piece. I have now, it's almost like I restored with my grandmother, the mistake that she made, because now my house is that house.
Curse breaker. Let's go.
Yes. And so from there, I was going through perimenopause. Now, I'm going to say that we're going to talk about...
See, you done made that accomplishment. You're not even happy anymore. You see, she said she went through menopause. You did all that, and you still found some type of way to be like, oh, this possibly not enough. You're going through the motions with it.
This.
We're
gonna have to talk about this. We're gonna have to talk about this.
Sex is different for men and women.
You just made a turn.
Yes, I'm gonna connect it all for you.
Uh-huh.
So, going through perimenopause as a woman, that's the stage before you get to menopause. It's when your estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone decline.
Okay.
And I'm going to start talking about this more because I know there's so many women that want relationships, but one day we do and the next day we don't. Mm-hmm. One day we love you, the next day we don't. It's because our hormones are fluctuating. This is why I tell married women at this stage in the game is when most women file for divorce. And I'm saying, let's get your hormones under control first and then see if you really need to divorce. Mm-hmm. Because you're going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then what I don't want you to do is not realize what's going on in the relationship could be fixed between you and him because your hormones are out of whack.
I got a question. What age?
Hold on. I'm not mad at that, but at the same time, why not tell them? Why not it be about duty opposed to just if you really want to leave? Because if the reason is stupid, why are they leaving at the same time if you chose that guy? Some people need to stick it out. That's why I say a lot of marriages ain't gonna last like they did back in the day because it's really not about the duty anymore. Now, I'm not saying you stay for horrible, egregious reasons, but reasons and things that if you get out of it and you might experience the same thing from another guy, yeah, you definitely probably shouldn't leave.
Do that start? Because some of these ladies crazy as hell about 38. Is that when it starts?
It can start. Mine started early. Mine started, and I didn't realize it. And it's like, it's something that I wouldn't wish on nobody. Because imagine being this vibrant woman, you're doing your thing, you're living your life, everything, you're excited about life, and then one day you can't get out of the bed. Like, so for me, when my book Identity Switch came out, I was at the height of everything. Mm-hmm. Only thing I did that year was a TED Talk because I couldn't do anything else, and nobody knew. So I was going through the perimenopause to where I only had enough energy to get up in the morning, take a shower, wash my face, brush my teeth, put my clothes on, and get back in the bed. So anytime anybody saw me like in a red carpet gown or doing an event, understand it took me knowing about the event and ahead of time to be ready for it.
Wow.
And then when I would come...
See, that's the scary part. That's why a lot of guys probably don't even want to be in relationships no more because she's explaining what happens to women a lot of the time in their older age. And if your hormones and emotions are fluctuating that much, that lets you know that even the best guy is going to deal with the headache of it.
And y'all know, I love men. I love y'all. But we give y'all way more credit for knowing stuff that we think you should know that you don't know.
We damn sure don't know about romance. You should be able to plan a beautiful date. Yes. I was like, that movie that you watched? It was a writer's room in there that wrote that part out.
Yes.
He didn't actually do that.
Yes. Yeah. And my best friend, Dr. Bobby Price, he said, hey, bro, I got a list of all of the dates that you've gone on. And he said, I'm not a date dude. I'm a provider dude. This is what I do. But he said, I have a list in my phone of all of the dope stuff that you do even by yourself so that I can make them dates. Mm-hmm. So I feel like women, we carry the romance. We are the ones that I would say influence you all to do the things that we want you to do. Mm-hmm. And so I believe we a lot of times put more on you that you were not prepared with. Like, y'all don't come here with empathy. You don't come here with romance. You don't come here just...
Hold on now. We definitely come with empathy or whatnot. I don't know why they act like men just have no souls or whatnot and that women just provide all this knowledge and emotions or whatnot to help feed their... Women can be devious creatures. I don't know where we just come off and say that women just automatically provide this energy for us to do these things. Here's the thing about it. Men are very romantic. That's why I say I feel like men are the helpless romantics, because men naturally want to be sweet. They naturally want to be catering. But when it comes to a woman, they don't want to do that for a guy. It's literally just shun all men out until you find one to actually meet your standards. So you gotta think about how cruel women really are. They shut out so much kindness to a large majority of guys. So who is really the empathetic one and kind one? I think it's more men than women. I know y'all gonna probably not agree with me on that, but I think it would be men than women who are actually kind.
With a high level of emotional intelligence. Y'all learn those things through women, but women are looking to be taught by you. Well, hell, how? They don't, unless they had a mama, a sister, and typically by the time you get what they call a man that know these things, he's dated women who taught him those things, so now he can give them to you.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be the person to teach those things. So when I was in makeup, I was talking to your makeup artist about one of my male clients. He's very well paid, the high value, all that, he has those things. But guess what? He had never been to a 5-star restaurant before. He had never been to a concert before.
Yeah.
Not because he didn't have the money, but because he worked all the time.
Yes.
Well, men are simplistic. Y'all actually like all those experiences, going to traveling, trips, the whole nine. Men have a very simplistic lifestyle, so we just look at what needs to be done and we go from there. Now, when it comes to a woman in our life, we invest into what she wants and the things that she likes. That's where that romantic side comes into it. But when it comes to y'all, no, y'all want the guy to do these things for you. So are you really romantic, or you just imposing your will upon the guy that you with?
And so I took him out. That's you?
Raise his hand.
That you one of those types.
I can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
I can go to any concert that I want to go to. But I grew up with a daddy who went to work 16 hours a day. So the example I saw was, what does a man do? He goes to work.
Yep.
All right, what does he do after that? Like vacation. Like I took like 5 vacations in 1 year one time, and I felt like such a loser. I was like, why are we vacationing so much? Oh, you just, you're dating someone who likes a vacation.
That's smart.
I'm like sneaking, getting on the computer, trying to figure things out.
That's smart.
And I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and so this guy, he didn't know how to do any of those things. So I curated our time together because I coached him, but then I always add an activity. So I took him to an Alex Isley concert. I said, all right, here's the deal. We're going to play like we brother and sister, so the girls don't be wondering who I am. And I said, I want you to go out there. I want to see how you engage with women. But because he worked so much, he didn't really know how to engage, but he was over a 6-figure man. So after that, I took him to his first fine dining experience. I took him to Perry's Steakhouse. That was his first time going. He's like, so where do I put my napkin? Because he saw me put my napkin on my lap. He didn't know what to do. But a lot of women would not have dated him. Girl, why didn't he know how to use what fork to use? Because he works. He doesn't have a problem spending money to do those things. He didn't have a reason to.
Yeah, and you're going to have to come up with something. Like, I'll be honest with any woman that I'm dating. I'm like, now listen. You ain't gonna have to worry about all that stuff you worrying about, but you are gonna have to be a good travel agent, a great date planner.
Yep.
Because I'm good at what I'm good at. Don't get me wrong, I'm learning now. As you said, as you begin to date people and go through, different experiences, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's really cool. And you start to pick up your Rolodex. My question to you now, when it comes to all of this jargon with the new age of the April Masons of the world, the Sarah Fontenot's, the Cheyenne Bryants, just all of these women who now, they kind of stand on the shoulders of what I call you as a giant with all of these different terms of you got to be high functioning, you got to be high value. What does that mean to April watching these new terms come out when they may not be clearly defined the way you would define them?
It means absolutely nothing. Because what I found is those aren't conversations that are really being had in real life. People have gotten away from what I call relational intelligence. So everybody has a term for all of these things, and to be honest with you, it's just relational intelligence. Do you know how
you just did the same thing
to connect with someone? We know how to be around people, but do you know how to be with somebody? And I believe a lot of what I've heard and what I'm seeing is coming from, like, for instance, I listen to the conversations that are being had. Like, you'll never hear me talking negatively about men and what men do, because I like men. So why would I reinforce my old experiences based on the old version of me?
But
why
you
would
just said things that men don't know how to do. Y'all give us credit for stuff that we don't know. Like, you definitely do it in your own way when it comes to fashion.
Do that. So I'm very clear on the things that I consume. You asking me to do this interview, most people know I don't do interviews. And it's because the conversation is based on the old version. And my actual title is Identity Transformation Architect. At the end of the day, no matter what you're talking about, it's based on the identity that you're currently having. So when you see all of these shows and these podcasts talking about toxic men and toxic women asking these lame, I can't cuss, but lame questions.
Ass is okay.
Lame ass questions.
Okay.
It's like, how is it that the breakup happened 3 years ago? In that 3 years, you got your credit right, you bought a car, you went and got a whole nother degree, but you still live in the same identity of somebody that hurt you. You didn't learn anything. When you lose a job, you take that, what you've learned, and you update your resume, and you go get another one. So you mean to tell me, as a man or a woman, that you've elevated in other areas of your life, but you still having these lame-ass conversations about the narcissist you dealt with? You can't sell me on that. You're not really doing the inner work. This is why I got out of the business. Because you have so many people who want to tell you how great they are and how academically sound and how much many businesses and millions they've made. But when I start talking to you about, well, you know what? Love is a beautiful thing. We all need it. Well, these men, well, have you not grown in those years? So you can't sell me on that. So none of that stuff, that jargon means anything to me.
I want to say this real quick. It's funny, like, usually the men dating coaches, or just, let's just say the guys who talk about this stuff online, I'll include myself into it. Y'all notice we very simplistic when it comes to the approach on how we handle all this information. But when you listen to all the female dating coaches, it gets very like complex, like a science experiment. The words that come out, I think Sarah Fontenot had like 7 forms of energy that she uses or something energetically, all type of crazy stuff. Kendra G got her own lingo. April, she has hers too, because she said something earlier that she got tongue twisted on. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she got tongue twisted, and it's like, why does it have to be that deep? Then her title was like identity architect or something like that. Identity transformation architect. That's crazy as hell. So usually when they speak on this stuff, it's just way too complex. It's a lot more simple than that.
I'm home, I'm taking everything off, and it's like, I can't do anything. And it would take me, like, doing something like this back then, I would have to have like another 5 days to recoup, because I would have given so much, because I didn't have any reserves. So what I've done in my younger years, I pushed past my stress triggers. So I kept going and going, and my body finally said, sit down. If you won't do it, I'm gonna do it for you. So from 2022, at the height of everything, that's when I did the Boss Up Conference with Rick Ross and everybody, the TEDx talk, everything. I couldn't do anymore. So I kind of was like, how can I maneuver? And I just didn't have the strength to do it. So imagine trying to date somebody, and I had several suitors during the time. Imagine trying to date somebody, and I want to see you for 2 days, but I'm okay with not seeing you for 3 weeks. That doesn't fly. So I really, for all of the women that are watching, please go get your hormones checked.
I think a lot of these women are undateable. A lot of these dating coaches who are hella busy like this, they already know they're undateable. They are forced to be single. That's the only thing they can really offer, is just probably like a few good nights consistently, some bust down action. But on a real stable relationship, nah, they all cook.
Before you just decide to say, you know what, I would rather be by myself. But then here come Christmas. Oh my God, nobody's taking me home to meet their mama.
Yeah.
Because that's what we go through. And I believe a lot of women, if they understood what their body is going through at this stage, that we can make better decisions. So for me, I just did the thing. I went to get on some hormone replacement therapy, child. So I got my testosterone up. I got everything is balancing. So now
she on TRT too?
I'm able to do things like this, do podcast interviews, do television interviews. I declined so much. And someone would say, oh my God, you could have just pushed through it. I'm like, that's what got me here.
This woman is fully synthetic.
Pushing through it. Burnout.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. So now I can date properly and be okay with seeing you for multiple days at a time.
Because you like, you was two on, 3 off.
Yeah, no, 2 on, 5 off.
5 off.
Damn.
So April, here go the thing. I just got to ask you this.
That's crazy.
So with all of these different hormones that women have to endure,
yes,
how do men get the bad rap of not necessarily understanding what's going on when y'all don't know what's going on?
Good
and
question.
You're absolutely correct. And for all of the men that are watching, I'm sorry.
Damn, a woman done said I'm sorry.
I'm
Praise
sorry.
the Lord.
I'm sorry, because
we don't hear that often though. Like, you know, I like to make jokes because this is entertainment.
Yeah.
But we don't hear that often. And there are so many men with so many
true.
question marks. Like,
Yeah.
Bro, like we was just cool and she just flipped on
Yeah.
me. And so
Yeah.
then it goes that you start to go down this rabbit hole. And I make no excuse for cheating. I make no excuse for seeing other people while you're in a relationship. But there's no longer a connection there.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I think with this conversation, I think men can kind of view it and they can jump back into their masculinity as a hero to say, man, this is just something that she has to go through. Because many of us had no idea. And on the contrary, as a man moving into the 40s, I had to look at my testosterone. Why am I feeling this way? And, I had to go in, I'm blessed to have some really great doctors to say, hey, we're going to pull this up. We're going to do this, and this to function. Because a lot of men, they go through that same sluggishness. And, the truth is in the 40s and 50s, God forbid, and I speak against it, but that's when a lot of men choose to end it all.
Yes. And so I would say to that, a lot of us didn't know. So our mothers and grandmothers didn't teach us about perimenopause. They taught us about, you're gonna go through the change, but they didn't have the terminology to be able to break that down.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Outside of science and everything that's in the new modern age or whatnot, those people still understood duty. They understood hierarchy, so their thought process is different. So it's kind of hard to still conflate how they were feeling and how they thought compared to now, because the window is a lot different of change for what we can get into, supplement, and thought process.
Only been like the last 10 years that we've been talking about perimenopause. And even Halle Berry has this petition going that women, especially in California, could start being covered. This HRT, it's not covered typically by your insurance. So you guys can get the little blue pill for your insurance for when y'all have a little natural issues in the PP area. But we can't just go to the doctor and do the same. So a lot of what women were being prescribed when we were going through the stages in the past was antidepressants for depression. That's
counterproductive.
Exactly. So, it's only been over I would say the last 10 years that we've been seeing a heavy conversation about perimenopause. And so I would suggest for the men to get educated on it as well. I just happen to be able to take the time to try to figure me out, because I'm like, am I crazy? Because one day I can stay up for 48 hours one day. It's like I'm just straight up, I'm energized. And then it's like I'm dragging out of bed. So when I start getting blood work done, my testosterone came back undetectable. So I didn't have none. Like zero zilch.
Everything just.
Well, I know for a female, it's usually nanograms per deciliter, and it's usually gonna be anywhere from about like 10 or so to about 60 on the range chart. So it's not gonna be really high anyway. I'm curious to see what she got hers elevated to.
It was just crazy, but I had a lot of estrogen to where my doctor, she said, your estrogen is like you're 28 years old, but you have no progesterone and no testosterone whatsoever, which the testosterone gives you that ability to have a little bit more drive to get up and go. I had none of that. So for me, I had to literally learn how to find what works for me. So now I don't have no problem saying, yep, I put my little testosterone cream on. I got the little estrogen patch, and I take a progesterone pill at night. So I believe that learning those things about yourself, even in when you're in the love department, it'll help you out, because you won't be fluctuating. And I want love, and then I don't, and then next thing you know, you binge watching stuff that's about your past and toxic people that.
I'll say this: if you had a guy in the household, that probably might bring your testosterone up, especially if he's a guy that's gonna have you doing things, or if you helping him. If y'all doing outdoor activities, usually guys try and force their girls into like working out, going outside with them, physical activities. So that's gonna help bring your testosterone up as a female. So probably supplementing the testosterone synthetically, because you don't have a man organically, possibly.
Talk to your pain because your hormones are out of whack. But then you go to bed crying, I wish I had some muscles and some biceps and some triceps. But then the next day you get on your phone, it's like, yep, you got to watch out for these men, because they're older men, they looking for hospice wives. Yep, see, that's what I'm talking about.
What is on your algorithm? Looking for hospice wives.
Yes.
April, so I got to ask you this. I'm like the kid right now that's like, I know we ain't got as much time as I want, but I'm like, ooh.
Yes.
So you're single.
Yes.
And you had the opportunity to go through this discovery.
Yes.
And you're like, wow, like some things were out of whack. What do you say to a man that has a wife that's in the house that's going through this who may be unaware of perimenopause, how does he best serve a woman in a house where one day she's on, one day she's off? Like, there's some parameters. She's a lion ready to scratch and crawl one moment, and then she's just a little lamb the other. Like, how could a man, if you were married during that time, serve you during that time?
I would have needed him to be real gentle with me, but I needed him to ask the questions. The things that he would have seen in me, I wouldn't want him to just say to hell with it and just walk away. It would be like, babe, one day is this, one day is that. And I'm a pretty self-reflective woman. And if I'm choosing a man, I'm not going to choose a man that's just talking on the side of his neck. So I would expect him to be of a higher level of intelligence.
Because he's kind.
Because he's kind.
Yeah.
But I would also respect what he has to say because I chose him based on, the things that are important to me, which is intelligence. So as long as he presented and be like, what, babe, you've been different. And then I would even be okay because I did. Him say, babe, you've been sexy, but you put on a few pounds. And then you put on a couple pounds, but your attitude, one day is this, one day you like me, one day you don't. And I like you a lot. And I just want to figure this out. I would be okay with that. I would be okay with him saying, you know what, maybe you might be going through something. We need to figure this out. And then we go to the doctor together and we figure out, because if you go to the proper doctor, how old are you? Oh, you 42?
I think I'm gonna leave it right there, y'all. I can't do it anymore. That sounds good, but it's hard. I'm be honest. Hearing this stuff, it sounds great sometimes, but when it comes to the reality, people don't receive information like that. You gotta be in a really, really healthy situation where people actually receive information. You and your partner receive information, because a lot of the times y'all got into the relationship without even understanding how y'all receive information. It was more about probably physical and sex first, and then y'all tried to piece everything together after that. So that sounds really good on paper, but in reality, it won't end up being like that. It's probably gonna be a lot more push and pull for guys in their day-to-day homes. It's not gonna be as smooth as, a woman just receiving it like that, which is the problem with how a lot of relationships are offset now, to where women just don't want to listen to their guy at all. Because I'm gonna be honest, as much as people trying to say that guys are trying to be controlling and just want to hold women back and they don't want to see women be happy, we usually always try and protect them from themselves. Like I remember early on, man, when I got with my wife, she was just my girlfriend at the time, and she used to always like rage in traffic, with people. And I told her, I said, you need to stop doing that, because you just don't know what can happen to you. Somebody snap on you, somebody try and, hit you or something, or do some other crazy or worse stuff. So that's something I had to really like wean out of her system. And I think we naturally try and do that, even when we try and introduce working out to a woman, regardless whether it's, we have our hidden intentions, behind making certain things grow. Wink, wink. We still want y'all to improve, and you gonna benefit off of it still. Like the byproduct of you working out for me is gonna be a healthier lifestyle for you, and you end up producing some form of consistency and other things like that. But I'm be honest, I wasn't really familiar with this woman until this interview, and I actually started doing some research with her and the Kevin Samuels or whatnot on how I think he called her out on a few things. Kevin Samuels was very real and honest. He didn't pull no punches, he didn't hold back. And she's doing like the same type of work, which is being like a dating coach. But as we see with all these more viral dating coaches, you start seeing the contradictions of words, contradictions of their lifestyle, and it doesn't reflect what they're trying to preach. See, me, I can talk about both sides because I am married. I've been single at the same time, but then somebody will try and shame me and say, Jay, you ain't been in the dating market, so how can you even talk about relationships and so on and so forth, or being single? How can you? Because those interactions don't change. The game hasn't changed. The players act a little different, but the game is still the same, because you can still acquire a woman the same way how you acquired one from back in the day. It might be a few added pieces, maybe social media, and the people are just different. But I think sometimes these dating coaches, man, these women, they just want to live their single lifestyle. And it is what it is. You can have as much fun as you want. I'm not here to police or dictate that. This is your life to live, ma'am. But I think a lot of the time when they compare themselves to guys, the biggest thing with this video is comparing to Kevin Samuels. You compare yourself to somebody who lives a completely different experience, really got to get it out of the mud. When it comes to content creation and social media for a guy, is way different than a female. Now, depending on your space you in, it might be a little bit harder for you, if you're in certain spaces for a female. But ultimately, you can get guys just to look at you based on how you look. Your curvature, your hips, your lips, your bustier, all that stuff will get you just visual notoriety. Opposed to a guy, it don't matter how you look. People not looking at you or listening to you if you don't have nothing to say, if you don't have some type of consistency to yourself. So we live life completely different. Women have it somewhat more on easy mode. Don't get me wrong, ladies. I understand in certain facets of life, y'all have it difficult still. But on the vast majority of the grand scheme of things, guys still have it very hard, especially when it comes to competing with other guys. It's definitely a dog eat dog world out there. I want to get y'all thoughts on this, man. The host, he has some great questions. Of course, he's not going to give as much pushback as we probably would like him to, because you have to have a certain, decorum with people that you interviewing or whatnot, because you don't want to just run everybody off. But he still asked an icebreaker type of question to where it's like it forces she had to be very honest and respond, which I really appreciated that. That was a great question. Asking her, like, if you got so much advice, why are you single? You would think that you would know how to get into a relate. See, because a lot of these women, they don't, like she said, I did it already. I don't need it. It sends a bad message still. It does. Because granted, you said that, yeah, I already been on that road. I don't need to go back and do it. Now you're telling women that they don't have to stick it out with their guys in the older age. That's the problem. When she gets to her 40s, she can leave. She's already done it. Oh, she had kids already. There's no more about duty. We're not talking about the family. We're not talking about the guy anymore. His feelings. He could be wanting to stay with her. She just want to leave because she want to experience something else. We're not talking about any of that, because guys end up having to sacrifice a lot of their lives as well for the family. So who's really right? Is the woman okay to leave, or is the guy okay to leave? Which one? Or is the guy okay to have another family? A lot of guys don't end up cheating. So yeah, I want to get y'all thoughts on this, y'all. Definitely drop a comment. I have this channel linked in the description so y'all can check them out or whatnot. Willie Moore Jr. Make sure y'all like this video, comment below. This is JayBReacts. Until next time, peace.